There were over 200 executive orders signed by Donald Trump. This is perhaps one of the biggest that he signed. This is President Trump from the White House last night.
Sir, this is a proclamation declaring a national emergency at the southern border of the United States.
That's a big one. A lot of big ones, huh? You know what that means, right?
President Trump, did President Biden leave you a letter?
He may have. Right?
So, by the way, I got to continue this one because this became a funny moment with Peter Doocy where, it's a tradition that was begun by George H.W. Bush for Bill Clinton. George H.W. Bush left a letter for Bill Clinton that essentially said, you're the president now. I wish you the best. You're my president, too. And each president thereafter has left a letter. I don't know that Trump left one for Biden. I know Obama left one for Trump. But Peter Doocy asked Trump about that last night.
President Trump, did President Biden leave you a letter?
He may have. Wait. Don't they leave it in the desk? I don't know. Oh.
What's in there?
Thank you, Peter. It could have been years before we found it. Wow. Thank you.
What does it say on the outside?
Maybe we should all read it together.
Let's read it.
Well, maybe I'll read it first and then make that
That
determination.
sounds great.
Peter, thank you very much. I may not have seen this for months.
Happy to help with the passing of the torch.
I did. I left him one in the desk just like this.
What did you talk to him about in the limo?
Unification of our country. I didn't know that he gave a pardon to his family because he did it during my speech.
He didn't tell you in the limo?
No, he didn't tell me. No. He did it. They released it during my speech. During my speech. So all I could do was say, excuse me, I'd like to come back and speak some more. So, no, we were surprised by that.
By the way, the letter was not addressed to Donald or to Mr. Trump or to Mr. President. It just says on the outside 47. You can see that. We don't know what it says. Yeah, I haven't seen. Maybe by now people know. I haven't seen the headlines today to know. But he that happened in the process of Donald Trump signing an executive order declaring a state of emergency at our border. But he also did something else related to that. He declared the Mexican drug cartels foreign terrorist organizations. I have called for this for 8 years. Towards the end of the Trump administration, the first time, he was headed in that direction. But with COVID happening and everything else, they never got around to it. And I pushed hard. Friends of mine pushed hard and made the legal case. And what's happened over the last number of years is, honestly, I want to give credit to the folks at the Texas Public Policy Foundation. Texas Public Policy Foundation, most of you, if you're not in Texas, you're not familiar with it. I think it probably is the best state-level think tank. So there's something called the State Policy Network on the right, where almost every state has a think tank about how to advance conservative policy in that state. Some states have more than one. I think one of the very best in the country is called the Texas Public Policy Foundation. Kevin Roberts at the Heritage Foundation, who I've been very critical of late with some of the things Heritage did, but I very much like and respect Kevin Roberts. He was at Texas Public Policy Foundation. Brooke Roberts was as well. It has been essentially a farm team for Trump and other Republicans in Washington. They have brilliant minds at the Texas Public Policy Foundation, and they began to lay the groundwork for what Donald Trump did last night. And I'm going to give them credit. They deserve the credit because I know the vast amount of work TPPF has done in the last number of years to make the legal case for designating the Mexican drug cartels a foreign terrorist organization, and also for using the military to secure the federal to secure the southern border. Let me explain to you the case for using the military, because there are a lot of people on the left today completely melting down over the fact that Donald Trump is sending the military to the southern border. The Constitution of the United States of America guarantees that every state will have a Republican form of government. And that form of government, you could in theory have a governor and a prime minister in a state. No state has set it up that way. Every state's set up largely the same way. Nebraska has a unicameral legislature, but pretty much every other state has a Senate and a House and a governor. You could have a governor who's largely a figurehead with a prime minister and a parliament. You could do that and guarantee a Republican form of government. But in the same section of the Constitution where the states will have a Republican government and the Congress shall ensure it, the Congress and the federal government will also ensure that those Republican governments of the states are secure from foreign invasion. The states in the Union are set up to be individual republics who have ceded limited control and power to Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. is not a plenary government. Washington, D.C. is not a government of unlimited power. The states are. Washington has limited power, but one of the powers in Washington, D.C. is to preserve and protect the states from foreign invasion. Our states are being invaded by foreign adversaries in the form of drug cartels from Mexico who are violent, who shoot at police, who shoot at law enforcement, who endanger the lives of American citizens. And all of this, the Biden administration turned a blind eye towards. The Texas Public Policy Foundation, based on this provision of the Constitution, made the legal argument that, yes, the states have a right to defend itself. Texas has a right to secure its border in the absence of help from Washington, but Washington has a legal obligation under the Constitution to protect and defend the United States of America and the individual states from foreign invasion. And Donald Trump agrees. And he should be praised for that. Donald Trump understands that the Mexican military doesn't have the wherewithal to invade us. No country has the wherewithal to invade us. But, when we launched our Revolutionary War against Great Britain, they were the best trained military on planet Earth. And Washington and his soldiers, in many ways, used guerrilla campaigns against them. And the Mexican drug cartels are doing that against us. They're running up the border. They're coming over in the night. You know what they do is they use the coyotes, the human traffickers, to send a pile of people into the country where they know that the Border Patrol is going to be. And as those people are coming across the border, they've paid the coyotes to get them into the country. They've been set up by the coyotes to show up where the Border Patrol is. The Border Patrol gets overwhelmed with the sea of humanity that's coming in, and then the drug cartels send the drug runners through a different route where now the Border Patrol is not, because they're where the crowd is, to get their drugs into the country. And the Chinese are making the drugs, working with the drug cartels, poisoning our kids, poisoning our husbands and wives, our fathers, our mothers, our children, our brothers, our sisters, and Washington has seemed to not give one whit about it. J.D. Vance understands the tragedy drugs can have in a community and in a family and how they can collapse a family. He's lived that life. He knows the scourge of drugs. Donald Trump's older brother, Fred, was an alcoholic. Trump's a teetotaler. Trump does not drink. He has said before he preferred it if his kids didn't, but they do. He's seen firsthand addiction hurt a family. He knows the effects of addiction. And he's decided finally to take seriously the drug cartels. Mexico is a failed narco state, by the way. Because Donald Trump recognizes this, the American press corps doesn't want to acknowledge it, but Mexico is a failed state. The president of Mexico is believed to be in the pocket of the drug cartels. There's vast amounts of corruption in Mexico. There are parts of Mexico no one can go to because the drug cartels control it. Increasingly, in Cancun and other places, Americans aren't safe. I have a friend whose cousin was kidnapped by the drug cartels and fed fentanyl and abused until she managed to, God bless her, escape. I know people who have run afoul of the drug cartels. I know someone whose relatives were murdered because they strayed too far out of civilization into Mexico going exploring and it wasn't safe. Mexico is a failed state. It is a third world kleptocracy run by drug lords with politicians in their pocket. And Donald Trump is right to declare the drug cartels foreign terrorist organizations. They terrorize the people of Mexico, they terrorize the tourists of Mexico, and they terrorize American citizens here in the United States. Trinda Agagua or whatever it is, I can't pronounce the name of it. The Venezuelan gang. One day I'll learn how to pronounce it, but you know the one I'm talking about. They're run out of the prisons of Venezuela. Venezuela allowed those gang members to come into the United States and set up shop intentionally by design. The Venezuelan regime did this. Designating them a foreign terrorist organization allows extra resources to be deployed to root them out and get them out of the country. In some places, that gang from Venezuela runs assassination rings. The thing that sets this Venezuelan gang apart from MS-13, which is a violent gang in itself, is that the Venezuelan gang targets the family members of law enforcement. So you, the law enforcement officer trying to arrest the gang members, understand they're going to target your kids. They're terrorists. They should be treated as such. And for 4 years, the Biden administration made excuses for Mexico, denied there was a problem, and refused to do anything about the gangs. Donald Trump has decided to come in and put Americans first with an American first policy, and that includes taking on the gangs that are spreading fentanyl and other poisons into the communities of America, degrading our communities and breaking them down. He should be praised for that. And you know what he's got instead? Condemnation from the media for having the audacity to treat terrorists as terrorists. It was a bold move by Donald Trump. It was a big move by Donald Trump. And I have nothing but praise for Donald Trump doing that. It was the right move. I'm proud of TPPF for advancing the ball so far that it gained enough traction to nationally be taken up by Donald Trump. And I am very proud of Donald Trump for having the guts to do what neither Obama nor Biden had the courage to do. It's the right thing to do. These groups are terrorists, and we should use any means necessary to root them out and destroy them.